Hello, my love. There is something that I want to say. You're that once in a lifetime love. Here with me today. You're the one.
Is there any end in sight for this? Do you have any ultimate goal?
Well, if there's an ultimate goal, is to continue to make music, and we hope that the people enjoy it and continue to support us. But ultimately, we want to just build our record company, and we'll probably take on some more acts, production projects, and that type of thing.
If that success of that song is any indication, you will be doing this for a long, long time.
Hi, I'm Linda Press Wolf. Welcome to another of our series, A Conversation With, a television program devoted to artists, musicians, photographers, and performers in the film, television, and theater sector, most of whom live in and around Lewisboro. Today I'll be talking with Chris Jasper, a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee and a Lewisboro resident for over 20 years, who was an integral member of the famous Isley Brothers during the 70s and 80s. Chris also received the Lifetime Achievement Award at this year's annual 2014 Grammy Awards. It's a pleasure to have you on our program today. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Pleasure to be on the show with you.
What brought you to Lewisboro?
Well, I lived in Armonk for a long time, for about 18 years, and it was, time to make a little change. I wanted a little more space, and we just happened to be looking in the area, and we saw this location, liked it a lot, and the rest, is history.
Now, most recently, you've received an outstanding award, and what an accomplishment this is to have received the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Grammys 2014. Tell us a little bit about that experience, and were you surprised?
Yeah, I was quite surprised. I was sitting in my living room and got a phone call from the Academy, and they said, well, we got a surprise for you. I said, well, okay, what is it? And they said, well, you're going to be receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I just had to stop for a moment and let it sink in. So I said, all right, just give me the specifics, and we'll definitely be there. And it turned out to be a very nice affair.
So at least you had a little bit of time to prepare your award speech and your comments.
Well,
right?
yeah, I mean, it was about a month prior to the affair that I received the notification.
Well, that's pretty exciting, and congratulations again.
Well, thank you.
Now, going back a little bit into your past, what influenced your musical style and tastes?
Well, as a kid, I used to, play songs off the piano that I would hear on the radio. And I can remember, songs from artists like Sam Cooke, Ray Charles, Jackie Wilson. That was kind of the beginning of my musical experience, because I was about seven years old at the time. So, those artists, those rhythm and blues artists, were the ones that I, followed first.
You're classically trained, Juilliard, Bachelor of Fine Arts from C.W. Post. How has that background affected your career?
It's helped me quite a bit. I mean, especially with songwriting, because I use a lot of the things that I learned from the classical experience, and I incorporate it into my R&B songs. In particular, the chords that I would play are a little different than some of the other writers would play, because I use different degrees of the scale, which I learned from classical music, and it gave our music, when I was with the Isley Brothers, and my music now, a little different sound.
In your biography, I happened to notice that you have a JD degree from Concord University School of Law. To me, that seems quite a departure from the music profession. So what factors led you to pursue that degree?
Well, there have been, some challenges along the way in my musical career, which unfortunately included some courtroom experience, So I wanted to, know more about what the law had to say about music, and this, in particular contracts and the copyright law. That's why I went back and got my degree there, because I think it's important to understand the rights that you have as an artist and as a songwriter. And I think that's when a lot of artists get in trouble, is that they don't understand the rights they have initially. So they don't even realize what they're giving up when they make a deal. So I wanted to know all of those things, what the law had to say about that. And, I think it's going to be a good thing.
And because in this case, your music and composing and performing was not an avocation, it was a profession. And knowing the laws and rights and rules and around a business is...
Some things I learned the hard way, but, I won't make those same mistakes.
Now, as an integral member of the Isley Brothers from 73 to 83, tell us about some of the highlights of your career with them.
Well, with the Isley Brothers, I think one of the highlights was, of course, the 3+3 album that had that lady on it. That was the first single from there. Nobody knew kind of what that album was going to do. I mean, it was a whole new experience. We were recording in California instead of New York, where we initially recorded everything. So it was a whole new experience, and for that album to do what it did, for that single to do what it did, that was definitely a highlight. I guess another highlight would be the third album we did, the Heat Is On album, which had Fight the Power on it, For the Love of You, and that was a #1 album on the pop charts. So I think those two kind of stand out.
And that last album was one of my favorites. How'd you get started with the group?
Well, that started, I guess, when I was in high school, because Ernie Isley, one of the younger members of the Isley Brothers, he played drums and I played piano. And we used to get together at his mom's house and, like jam together, And Marvin, his younger brother, didn't play an instrument at the time. So we said, look, Marvin, we need somebody to round out this trio. We need a bass player, so why don't you learn how to play bass, So Kelly Isley, one of the older brothers, bought Marvin a bass, and he started to learn how to play bass. So we formed a trio called the Jasmine Trio, and we played local church functions, high school affairs, in New Jersey, in Englewood, New Jersey. And the older guys, they had already recorded at Motown, and they had a few other hits before that. And they saw us developing, they saw us playing, and they would tell people to come over to the house, listen to these guys, they're really good, So the more we played, the more, they got interested in us being a part of their group. So there was a point when they took us in the studio. This was in Englewood, New Jersey, too. They took us in the studio, recorded some of our original songs, and they liked it so much that they said, okay, why don't we just all, record together? So we started to play on their records up until 3+3, up until that point. And when the 3+3 album came out, that's when the three of us younger members were visible to the public. And, they knew that, okay, now there's a 6-member band instead of a 3-member band. So it's kind of how it all came together. Two groups coming together, 3+3. That's why we named the album that.
Now, in that decade, 73 to 83, you were really the creative force, the creative factor in that group, writing, if not all, most of the works that they were best known for.
Yeah, that was something that everybody was kind of comfortable with, because they knew my background, in composition. I was the piano player, and I had a knowledge, a good knowledge of music and composition, So anybody who had an idea, and it was usually Ernie, because Ernie had some ideas too. They would come to me, with it, and we would work it out, and then make the record. So that's kind of how things went, and it was successful. So everyone was comfortable with it.
Now, you've traveled the world, or actually traveled mostly throughout the United States as a solo performer and also as a member of the Isley Brothers. Are there any offbeat or unusual or memorable venues that you've performed in, either with the group or as a solo performer?
Yeah, well, I'll always remember a memorable venue would be Madison Square Garden. We played there 5 times. And sold out 5 times, or maybe 6 times. But it was very memorable each time, because that's kind of the venue that if you can play there and sell that venue out, then you've kind of made it. So I'll never forget those gigs there. But we played some other places like the Superdome, Arrowhead Stadium, which is very memorable. Those outdoor venues, because it's a different vibe when you're outside, in those big coliseums. I remember one time in Arrowhead, we were playing. We came on stage, and a minute into the song, the power cut off.
So,
So there was a brief panic, right before it came back on. But I'll never forget that because of that incident. That had never happened before.
what's Plan B in a circumstance
what
like
do you
that?
do?
Yeah.
You're up there, no power. Boop. But it turned out good anyway after that.
That sounds very exciting. The band eventually did break up.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about that time in your professional life.
Yeah, there were differences financially. I put it between the brothers, the older brothers and the younger brothers. They had a lot of problems that we didn't have. They had a lot of tax obligations, and we didn't have the same problems. And they wanted to file bankruptcy and get out of the CBS contract. That's basically what the plan was. But like I said, we didn't have to do that. And I expressed that to everyone, and they wanted us to go along with that, and we didn't. And that's the main reason that caused the breakup.
Now, whether we're talking about your past or your current works, there's a funk and an R&B and a spiritual side to your music. What sparked the spiritual elements in your music compositions?
Well, I guess around the mid 80s, I guess you could say, or early 80s, I started to read the scriptures, the Bible, a lot, because I felt there was something missing, that in me, and I started to read a lot and study it and understand it, and it just became a part of my life. So to express that in my music was a natural thing for me, and I did four albums, dedicated just to that, just to the gospel. That people call it, or I like to call it, the truth of the Word of God. So that's just part of me. That's just part of who I am.
And I've listened to some of those works, and they're very inspirational and very joyful and very enjoyable.
Thank you.
Going back a little bit, I recall seeing the group on Soul Train. In fact, I don't think I missed a Saturday without seeing that show. So did television in general elevate the group's popularity?
Oh, I think it did. I think, there's nothing like television. You're sitting in your living room and, bam, someone comes into your living room. A TV has, picked up a lot of people's careers, even started careers, A lot of people started on television, so yeah, it's a huge part of a person's career.
Now, it's known that you play a number of different instruments: keyboard, guitar, bass, and drums. Do you have a favorite?
Well, my favorite's always the piano, because that's how it started. I started playing piano. Actually, my mother encouraged me to learn how to read music, and so that's how I started. So the keyboards will always be the basic thing. But I like the other instruments. I like the drums. I like playing percussion. I like playing guitar once in a while. But my main focus will probably always be keyboard.
And do you do most of your music compositions on the keyboard?
Yeah, well, Caravan of Love, I came up with that idea on the guitar actually. Just fooling around with the chords, and yeah, the progression sounds pretty good, So I finished it off on the keyboard though. But most of them, yeah, they come from practicing on the piano.
Today, how do you spend most of your professional time? Is it writing, arranging, producing, performing, recording, all of the above, some of the above?
Yeah, usually it's recording, and writing. That's how I spend most of my time, or in the studio. I've done a lot of albums, and I'm in the middle of, not in the middle, but almost 75% finished with my latest project. And I'm always, creating and writing. That's what I do the most.
Chris, where do you do most of your composing and recording?
Most of the tracking that I do for my music, I do right here. I have a small workshop, like studio, in the back, and it's very comfortable for me because whenever I can get an idea, I can just go right downstairs and start recording. So right here at home.
That's convenient. Could be 7 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning.
A lot of times it is 4 o'clock in the morning.
Your songs have been recorded and performed by other artists. Do you have a favorite rendition or interpretation by another artist of one of your compositions?
Yeah, For the Love of You was done by Whitney Houston, and I really liked her version. I thought it was very well done.
Who are the artists today that you admire the most?
Well, as a composer, I always look for songs first before I look at artists. So I'll like a song and then I'll find out who the artist is later, But I think Eric Bernays doing some nice stuff. Charlie Wilson, I liked his last album. I was a big Luther Vandross fan. I liked a lot of stuff that he did. But like I said, I look for songs. That's what attracts me. That's what attracted me to Motown, is because, their songs are so good. Any one of their artists could sing, and that's kind of how. That's my approach to music, is try to get the song right, and then the performance usually is much easier.
Now there's so many styles of music today, so many different music genres. Do you have a particular style of music that you like, and conversely, styles of music that you dislike?
Well, I like R&B. I love R&B. That's what I grew up on. But I like other types of music. I like pop. I like some country. I just don't like music that has negative messages in it, no matter what it is, because I think we've had too much of that. People need to be uplifted, I feel. I think there's a need for that. I think everyone's soul wants that. They want to be inspired. They want to be uplifted. They want to hear something good. We really do. Even though sometimes we seem to clamor around the gossip and but really, I think deep down we all want to be uplifted, and that's what I think. That's why I write the music I write, is because there needs to be more of those messages out there.
Do you ever keep in touch with the former members of the Isley Brothers?
I used to be in constant contact with Marvin Isley. He was the youngest of the group, and unfortunately he passed away a few years ago. But Ernie Isley, he's the other young one that was in our Jasmine trio when we started off, and I talked to him occasionally, but not as much as I did Marvin. But that's just too bad we lost him.
Chris, besides being a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee and also winning the 2014 Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, you have a myriad of other accolades and awards. Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, well, over the years, when our records would sell, they would give us gold and platinum awards. And I have lots of those in in the house. They're actually on the way to the studio. I have them on the wall. And there's also awards from people who had covered or sampled our material that received platinum and gold status too as well. So there's some of those back there too. And we've got Ampex tape awards, we've got ASCAP awards, you know, it's a lot of them. So a lot of them I don't even have up because I don't have enough wall space. But a lot of awards.
Well, congratulations on all of them. They're well deserved.
Thank you.
Now, what are you working on now, and what can we look forward to?
Well, I'm working on a CD. It's called The One. It's going to be 10 songs. The single is already out, and you know people are really excited about that. So am I. And I'm trying to get it finished by August for an August release, and that's the latest project. Also, my son Michael's working on a project too, which he's trying to finish it for the fall, sometime in the fall release. So we're both busy, you know, working on finishing those projects. But that's what's on the agenda.
Well, we'll look forward to that, the release of the new work in August. So if our viewers would like more information about your new release, past releases, or just to learn more about Chris Jasper, where shall they go?
It's very easy. Just go to chrisjasper.com, and you can find everything there. You can find my calendar there. You can find Facebook. You can find the music stores, you know, CD Baby, iTunes, all those things, right there at chrisjasper.com.
Well, Chris, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you for sharing your exciting career as a singer and composer with our viewers. And until next time, this is Linda Press Wolf for LCTV Channel 20, the 2010 winner in overall excellence in government access.
You're watching Lewisboro Community Television, Channel 20.